Well, hello. My name is Angelle Wood, and this is Crime of the Truest Kind. Welcome back. This is part 2 of 2, recorded live on Thursday, March 13th, 2025, at Off Cabot in Beverly, Massachusetts. Off Cabot has become a welcome home for the show, and we will be back. This is part 2 of the live show. If you have not listened to part 1, please go back and listen to episode 82. While you're there, listen to all the back catalog of Crime of the Truest Kind. But this is the second half of the live show. Now, keep in mind, it's a live show, and I welcome crowd participation. We try to get everyone on mic. That proves difficult. This is part 2, True Crime North Shore. This is episode 83. Send me an email anytime, case suggestions, crimeofthetruestkind@gmail.com. Beryl Atherton is a case that I don't know if a lot of people know about this because it happened so long ago, and there is a book that I have not read, so I haven't dug enough into her case yet to present it in an episode. But there's a book that was written, Murder in Marblehead, by Harry Christensen and Rich Santasanio. Sorry, Rich. It chronicles her story, and I do plan on reading it. But her story is horrendous, and I'll tell you a little bit. I'll tell you what I know and something that I pulled during my research earlier. It was a Saturday night of Thanksgiving weekend in 1950. A savage nor'easter battered the coast. We've all gone through the nor'easter, right? The nor'easter. In a place like Marblehead, it was probably particularly windy. Beryl was a single woman. They called her a spinster then. Remember, the language has changed. Today we call her a woman. She was a spinster. I believe she was 47. She was a teacher in Marblehead. During this stormy night, somebody entered her home, attacked her, strangled her in her kitchen. They cut her throat in the sign of the cross, which is particularly morbid, right? But of course, we also read things into this. Was, somebody truly a devil worshiper? Because this predated satanic panic by a number of decades, but I'm sure that flipped a lot of people out when she was found. They had no idea where to look. She lived in what they called a rundown clapboard cottage at 57 Sewell Street in the Old Town area of Marblehead. Those of you who are familiar with the area, that might make sense. She was 47 tall, painfully thin, this writer called her. No close friends that they knew of. No known enemies. I mean, she was a teacher. This is going back a lot of years. I can't imagine anybody in here was familiar with her at school. Her father was a clergyman who once lived with her in that house. She didn't do a whole lot. She went to get her hair done. She went to the movies. She taught in Marblehead schools for more than 25 years. She was murdered in her home, and that's all we know about what happened to this woman who lived alone, who was a teacher, minding her own business, and it became one of Marblehead's most infamous, maybe, cases, unsolved. What in the world happened to Beryl Atherton? I am going to get that book, and I'm going to read it, and then my plan is to write an episode based on her case, because I didn't know about her case prior to starting to really research more North Shore stuff. Is anybody familiar with her case?
Just a little bit. I have heard the book and I have it on my to-get list too.
Yeah.
Not a lot. I mean, there isn't a lot. But
It's one of those mysteries. It's one of those North Shore mysteries. It's a Marblehead mystery. Who in the world was she involved with somebody? We simply don't know, because it was 1950. We really don't know anything about her life or really what she did.
you have to read the book. They make her out much differently.
How do they make her out in the book?
They make
Come on. Well, what would you expect?
She would take the bus into Lynn or Boston each weekend and spend the night with different gentlemen, go out to spend the night, and then she was bouncing all these guys.
See what happens to victims of violent crime? They're made out to be like deplorable people. When are we going to stop re-victimizing people who have been victimized? This is a woman that probably didn't fucking do anything. She probably went to school and took care of her wonderful school children and came home. Who knows? I mean, there was no Tinder then. She couldn't hook up. I think the book would anger me, wouldn't it? I think the book might piss me off.
Harry Christensen did a great job.
Yeah.
He's from Marblehead.
Yep.
Born and brought up. Really took this seriously. So I don't know where all that came from.
His co-author was like, let's throw this in there. Let's say that she was just a hound dog. I mean, come on. She's not here to defend herself. Yeah.
3 different men in her apartment that day. One was the Iceman. One was the
Milkman.
postman.
Yeah.
And one was the paper delivery. You know, and they did what they do.
Yeah. They had no way to track anything. I mean, today, if any one of us goes missing, and I really never want to do an episode on any of you. Today, if anybody goes missing, we have a digital footprint. We can pretty much figure out everything. You know, if you get in a car accident, we can figure out what your car did right up until the moment, right? We can pretty much figure. I mean, if anything happened to me, knock on wood, everything is laid out. Everything I've done, everywhere I've been, everybody knows what my dogs look like. Everybody knows what they did from moment to moment. Everything about our lives, generally speaking, has a digital footprint. We don't know what she was doing. Like, if this book suggests that she was going into town and doing all the things, based on what?
Fade their character.
Yeah.
So that the public can say, see, we're safe. That wouldn't happen to me because I don't do that.
That's a good point. Yep.
And they still do that.
Yep.
I mean, it's weird dirt that they can get on anyone. Oh, this person shoplifted in 1980.
Right.
Because the public can
Right.
say,
Let me clarify what this person from the studio audience is sharing. When crime victims are villainized in this way, it often suggests that it's a way for people to feel a little bit more comfortable, like they're not at risk, because that person who was abducted or hurt or murdered was up to no good anyway. So as long as I feel like I'm on the straight and narrow, so to speak, nothing like this will happen to me. We know that's wrong.
demonize their character or say, because
Yeah.
they're not.
And they want to take the responsibility off the person who committed the crime to say, well, she obviously, we've seen it in rape cases, right? We've seen how people are villainized, right? Victims of crime are villainized to be like, well, you were clearly doing something wrong. So what did you think was going to happen? I mean, that's part of victimology. We know that, to see what somebody's lifestyle was like. It's part of an investigation, of course. But the blame goes solely on the perpetrator of the crime. Even if you were, look, we've seen a number of cases where murder victims are sex workers. They don't deserve to be killed any more than a school teacher. Yes, they're in a dangerous profession, but they're often victimized. We see that all the time. We heard it with the many serial killers. The Green River serial killer talked about it. That's why he selected them, because he thought nobody cares. Nobody cares about them. Well, that's not true, but they're just in a different situation. No, you're right. You're right. It takes sort of the responsibility off everybody else to look out for each other, right? Well, she was obviously doing something wrong. So Beryl Atherton was obviously up to no good. So somebody came to her house and, What's that? Yeah, right. Somebody was judge and jury for her, right? Yeah. No, you're right. Advocacy is key. I got this bag of skeleton keys. And I thought about, what am I going to do with these bag of skeleton keys? And I thought, advocacy is key to all of this. When I say that, what I mean is it is what makes us empathetic. It's what makes us understand this a little bit better. It helps us to really recognize what maybe a victim or a family has gone through or what is going through. That's really how I've changed in all this. I said at the top of the show where I was this, radio DJ going to rock and roll shows and interviewing famous people and getting laughs on the radio. And then I entered into this true crime world. And I was still a little, look, you've been here, you've heard me, you know that I make jokes, I sidebar a lot, I'm goofy about things, but never about somebody who's been victimized in this way. There's a balance, right? So one of the things I have been involved in most recently is starting a Massachusetts-based victim advocacy coalition with a couple of other women who are in the space, one of whom is Melanie McLaughlin, who made the documentary called Have You Seen Andy? If you have not watched Have You Seen Andy? It is streaming on Max. It is a documentary about Andy Puglisi, who disappeared in 1976 from Lawrence, the public swimming pool. She was his childhood friend. They knew each other for one summer, the last summer that he was here. And she made a documentary about her experience and her investigation into his disappearance. And she won an Emmy for it. She is part of this coalition. Another person who's a part of this coalition is Dr. Anne-Marie Myers, who is from here. She actually lives here on the North Shore, and she is a forensic anthropologist who has worked on a number of very familiar cases. She's worked on the Molly Bish case. She worked on the Sarah Pryor case. She worked on the Holly Peranian case. She worked on the Whitey Bulger case. She was part of the team who recovered his victims. She was digging in the beaches and pulling victims out of the sand, and she testified at his trial and helped send him to prison. He was subsequently beaten to death in jail, but karma's a bitch. And on the Whitey Bulger tip, it depends on who you talk to and where you talk to them, because he's still like a folk hero to a lot of people. He pulled women's teeth out with pliers, but some people think he was amazing and did wonderful things. And he helped bring, heroin to South Boston. So this organization, it's a coalition, a volunteer coalition for those of us who just want to support families. We do events. If you're interested, you can sign up to our mailing list. We'll be having events where everyday advocates are invited to join us. Everyday advocates are all of you who somebody goes missing, you share a flyer, or you talk about a case that you're familiar with. Everyday advocacy is quite easy. Just be factual and share information and support families who are going through something like this. And advocacy is even just, like you said, the book is about Beryl Atherton being villainized quite a bit. Advocacy is about saying, that's really unfair to say that about her when you truly don't know. But also, at the same time, as a woman, what if she was seeing a couple of people at the same time? I don't think so, but maybe what if she was, for an example? I know that was taboo in the 1950s, but similar to Elizabeth Short, who some people don't even know the Black Dahlia has a name. Elizabeth Short is from Medford, Massachusetts. She grew up right around here, and she became the Black Dahlia in death because of how she was found. She was brutalized. And I actually have one episode out about her case, and there's a second one coming about what happens. But I want to humanize people in these situations because she is one of the most famous, infamous murder victims, unsolved cases in the United States history, and people call her a prostitute, and she wasn't. She wasn't.
Look at the millions of women that have been murdered and raped, and they get to court,
Yeah.
they're alive.
Yep.
And the first question, what are you wearing?
Yeah. Right. Right. There's that, we see the memes online. It's like, teach your son, you can teach your daughter to behave a certain way and dress a certain way, but how about we talk to our sons about how we could be better at this, right? This is a list of the cases I had really tried to talk about tonight, and I got through most of them. Lee Savoy is a little boy who disappeared from Revere. I want to talk about him. The Elliott Chamber fires of Beverly, I have not even cracked the surface of. But much of this stuff, there's information available online. If you decide you want to, dig deeper on these cases and learn some more about them, please do. I probably will get the book on Beryl Atherton, though it might piss me off. I recently got a book in the mail from a publisher about a Rockport case, some Rockport murders. I think it's simply called Murder in Rockport. I don't know anything about the case. It's going back, even farther, like into the 30s, I think. But I'm going to dig into it. And yeah.
Here is where a member of the studio audience, like we're on television, here a member of the audience chimed in when I was talking about this very old murder from Rockport, who had a relative who was very familiar with the case. And these things happen when we all get together.
Is that right? That's really interesting. Did he talk about this case a lot when you were a kid?
No, he passed away when he was like 10 years.
Oh,
And I really didn't know anything about it.
yeah.
I asked my mother about it, and she wouldn't say anything.
Oh.
He never talked about it.
I imagine that it was probably. Difficult. I imagine it's probably difficult for him to kind of bring that stuff home, right?
Yeah. I spoke to a retired judge who told me he was an explorer with the Rockport Police Department back then. And he told me who the suspect was, but they just didn't have the evidence. And what they do have for evidence, there were 2 murders.
Yeah.
Okay. And when they moved from the old police station down in the Dock Square area in Rockport up to 39 Broadway, this judge, who was just a kid at the time, went to the chief of police with another police officer and said, "Chief, what do you want to do with all this evidence for the murders?" And the chief told him, he said, "Bring it to the quarry over at Halbert Point State Park,
Wow.
Throw it in the quarry, because all that's going to do is just bring back bad memories to people."
Wow.
So that was back in 1939. So
It's incredible, isn't it?
it is. It's crazy.
People know. Yeah.
That book that you mentioned
Yep.
about the murders in Rockport, the authors are going to be doing a talk about it at the Rockport Public Library in April.
I would love to go to that.
I don't know the date, but
Yeah.
if you looked up the Rockport Public Library, they would probably have the date on that.
Yeah, I would like to. I'd be really interested in hearing what they have to say about it. I really would. Thank you for that, though. Thank you. Well, thank you, Off Cabot. I do a podcast. Please listen to it. Please email me if you have case ideas, if you have any information that, comes to you later and something you want to tell me about, please email it. Everything's at the website, crimeofthetruestkind.com. We can do an open Q&A if anybody wants to ask questions or talk about anything. I always save a little time for the end. It's 9 o'clock.
I want you to speak up so we can get on the recording, please.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Whoop. Over here?
I can't see you.
Right here.
Oh, hi.
Hi. I was just wondering when that part 2 is going to drop on the Black Dahlia.
Next week, Because I was going to get it out tomorrow, but I had a massive project I had to finish, but it'll be out next week.
'Cause
Promise.
that was really well done. I first heard about her like back in the 70s when I
Yeah.
read one of those Hollywood Babylon books.
Yeah.
And I knew nothing about her until I moved to Medford.
Right.
But
Right.
I will say you did miss one person when you talked about the history of Medford. One of the most famous missing people also lived in Medford. Amelia Earhart.
Who?
Amelia Earhart.
That's right.
She lived on Brook Street.
That's right. That's an important one. That's
Yes,
a
it
really
is.
important one.
Thank you. This gentleman here?
Can you go back to the the Centofonte story?
Yeah, you want to read about it?
Nope. The picture of the General Edwards Bridge. That. You actually have a corner of the piece of Jacob's Ladder parking lot in that picture.
Are you kidding?
The lower right-hand corner, you go over the GE Bridge, you look at a Point of Pines, is that
Yeah.
spit opposite. That's the start of Jacob's Ladder. That's the parking lot.
That's incredible.
Yeah, just let you know.
The best place we never remember.
Wow. No, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Thank you.
That's great news. Thank you. No, I had no idea that's where it was. I just had the, bird's eye view of where the area where she was found. Yes. Yes, that's very interesting. It gets my red flags up. Somebody else had a question?
I'm right over here. I'm amazed at all the 70s. I mean, I grew up in the 70s, and I've had people say, "Oh, it wasn't that bad," but we didn't have the internet. I started reading True Murder when I was in my single digits, so I was aware that stuff was going on, but you didn't hear it on the news. But a lot of these bars and stuff, I mean, I was 13 years old hanging around outside of a bar because I liked the band.
Yeah.
You know?
It was a different time for all of us.
And a lot of it was good because we went everywhere and did anything, but I mean, dangerous too.
Mm-hmm.
But I was wondering, I know you're close with the Murray family, if there's any updates or, I know like there's been some different things. I love her podcast and,
They are very guarded with
Yeah.
information, but since Julie released Media Pressure, the first season of Media Pressure about Mara, they have gotten a number of new tips and information.
and I know Freddie just passed away
Freddie
recently.
passed
That's
away.
horrible. He was young. I mean,
He was in his 50s. He was very young.
Yeah, the family's been through a lot. That's a case that's close to my heart that,
That family, they're really wonderful people, and they have been abused quite a bit
yeah.
as a result of their missing sister, and it's
They
not
tore
fair.
that tree down too, which I think it's upsetting. There's no reason to have done that. I mean,
The town was the people who own the property. I don't think the people. I could be wrong. I'm not sure if the people who own the property when they took the tree down were the same people who owned the property when
Okay.
Mara had the accident. I don't know. But I thought that was cruel
Yeah.
that they took the tree down because that's the only real. They don't have a grave site. They don't have anything to go and sort of remember her. They go there, and every year there's a vigil, and there was just one this past February.
yeah.
But I've just felt it was cruel, and I
Me too.
can't really say why the people did it. They just didn't want the attention.
Yeah. I love your podcast. And I haven't heard the Dahlia one. I'm waiting for second part to come out. So it's back to back. But yeah, you're doing a great job. I
Thank
love
you.
it.
Thank you for coming. I'm so happy you came again. And you give me some great
Next
information.
question? Sure.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. I'm happy to answer your questions or just share your stories.
I was just wondering if you've ever heard of the Karen Foss case in Beverly from 1968.
I don't know anything about it. What can you tell me?
She was 14 years old, murdered in Cooney Field in Beverly,
In Beverly,
right
wow.
behind Hurt Stadium, right
Yeah.
behind the high school football stadium.
Wow.
The murderer was found, but it was, I was about 11 when it happened. She was 14, and it just
That had to have a
it's-
big impact on you.
It's something that's like haunted me my whole life. So
Yeah.
Karen Foss.
I will absolutely look up her story.
The guy that killed her was Ronnie Hutchinson.
And what do you know about did they release any information about associated with this person and why he did this?
Probably.
Yeah.
He raped and killed her.
Ugh.
14 years old, and he was a ne'er-do-well around Beverly. Everybody knew him. So it was easy to find him and figure out who did it. But
Wow.
it was 1968, Karen Foss.
Got it. Thank you.
Does anyone else have a question or something they want to talk about? Going once?
Karen Reed.
Everyone.
Okay, let's talk about Karen Reed. All right. So here's what I think about Karen Reed. I don't think they're ever going to be able to prove that she did that. I don't know. I don't actually know. I don't follow it nearly as closely as a lot of people do. But I watched some of the beginning of the first trial, and I just thought, I called it. I said, this is going to be a hung jury. I called it like 2 weeks in, and I know very little about law, the inner workings of law and trials and et cetera. But I said, there's no way that I cannot see them finding her guilty because they proved nothing.
She doesn't even know.
It's just so bananas, and there's just all these attention from all of these other people around the case. I just truly don't believe that they're going to find. I think if they're going to go take her to trial again, and I think the same thing is going to happen. I don't think they're ever going to find her guilty of killing him. I don't. Whether she did it or not, I don't know. I don't know. All of it is just too bizarre. They have made this into, all of the players involved have made it so messy and murky that you actually forget there's a dead guy. You forget that a man died. You forget because it's been made as sort of a mockery, the whole thing. So my feeling is this: I don't think they're ever going to find her guilty. I don't. I'd be surprised if I'd be surprised. And there's just so much that continues to go on. What do you think?
I think that state police are all corrupt. The judge is in on it. And I don't think they have to prove her guilty. I think they'll put her away no matter what. Just to cover up everybody else's mishap.
I do watch the Sandra Birchmore case a little bit more closely, and that's associated because it's Canton Stoughton, and the Stoughton Police Department. That story is absolutely horrible. The fact that young girl went through what she went through.
And there's overlap.
Absolutely. She was groomed by police officers.
Yeah.
More than one.
No, I mean Karen Reed. I think she's innocent. She's factually innocent.
Oh.
Yeah.
It makes us look at as Massachusetts people. I mean, we're North Shore, South Shore. There's always this rivalry. But it makes all of us collectively look like idiots. That's how I see it. I'm like, we look so stupid.
If she wasn't a beautiful woman, this wouldn't have been on People magazine. It wouldn't
I
even
think
be on
that's
court
part
TV.
of it. I think that's part of it. You know, I do feel for Karen Reed a little bit
me
because,
too.
Whatever was going on with their relationship, he died and she never got a chance to mourn him. If she is or not, it's not up to me to
Crazy
say.
girlfriend.
Yeah.
And is that a capital offense?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. I think there are a lot of people associated with that case that are.
People being afraid of other people.
Yes. There's a lot of fear around that case. Absolutely. Corrupt? Yeah, we did say that.
Yeah.
Nepotism, how they're all like covering, they're all taking care of each other. Yeah. Yes. Oh, yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
What do you think? I don't think they'll ever find her guilty.
I don't think they will because, and the FBI cleared the cops. Oh, the FBI cleared the cops of any wrongdoing in that case. But then again, do we trust those cops? You know, that's the whole thing. Like,
Isn't that like
very
investigating
well
themselves?
known in that community. Everybody knows everybody. They cover for everybody. Nothing would be more convenient than to find the fall person. She was a handy little fall person right there. And her boyfriend, the one they killed, he could have very well been on to something that was going on in the town. And what a convenient way to get him off the trail of any wrongdoing that was going on with the other cops.
Just take the attention away and, oh, look it over here. It's like the squirrel effect, right? Oh, look.
Yes.
Nobody pay attention to this.
And when they had her, they said she's going to be the perfect one. We're going to pin it on. She's going to be the perfect one. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Now I know everybody differs on the opinion, and some people want to see her go straight to hell. I know they do, and a lot of people feel that way.
That's not really how I feel. I just feel like I feel bad. I do have compassion for her because she did lose someone she loved, and I have compassion for the O'Keefe family big time, and those kids that he was taking care of that have nobody now.
Right.
They have not proven. I'm not a juror, thank God, but they haven't proven to me she did it.
Yeah, I think she's going to get off. My last person I just wanted to just bring up was a young man named Brian Lopez that was murdered in Lynn. Okay, I'm from Lynn, so I identify with a lot of the cases that have happened in Lynn. And my husband, who's older than me, remembers Lois Centofanti. I remember little Jesus, in the city. But Brian Lopez also was murdered recently last summer. This was, not 2 years ago, last summer.
I recognize the name.
He was walking to school in the morning. He was diverted somehow during the day on the way to school, ended up going up, they think, towards Lynn Woods because he had gone there before just to get away from things. And they found him in the reservoir. Okay, they pulled him out of they had the news media was there, they had the cops were all blocking the area, but the word on the street is, with the local community and on the local Facebook page, is that the police never let the parents see the body. They told them they had the whole thing locked down and they would never let them see the body, and they said it was because he was too much disfigurement, and a lot of people think it's being covered up. And this was last summer. And to be honest with you, I don't even believe they actually pulled the body out of that reservoir.
Oh, wait. I know what you're talking about.
I'm going to look that up. Look it up.
I'm going to read that. I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about? It was last summer. Yep. Yeah, pulled from the Lynn Woods Reservoir. Now, were they really pulled out for the Lynn Reservoir?
The open Q&A gets really interesting, and people bring all sorts of information and great questions and bring up other cases, some of which I have no knowledge of whatsoever. The Karen Reed case comes up every single time I am out doing a show. It has generated a great deal of interest. And here we are. Trial number 2 has begun. What will become of the Karen Reed case? I don't know. But I will say this. I don't follow it religiously like a lot of people do, and I understand people's interest in the case. And I will say what I have always said. A man is dead. John O'Keefe died. Whether he was beaten up by someone, I don't know. Whether he was hit by a car, accidentally or on purpose, I don't know. But I know that he has been lost in this story. And that is a crime of the truest kind. And those children that he was taking care of, without parents, and now without their uncle, their guardian, their caregiver, their surrogate father, and that so many other people have been implicated in this. It is bananas. And that people are getting rich and famous off his name. I can't tell you if Karen Reed did it or she didn't. It's really up to whether the prosecution or the defense tells the better story. And this case is so polarizing, like politics. There are people who believe she's guilty, throw her in jail, and others who said she's been totally railroaded. Where do you fall? I advocate for all people. I don't point fingers and vilify people. Victims of crime are just that. They are victims. In these stories and talking to people who live in these communities, it is incredibly interesting and enlightening. I have been working on finding a venue on the South Shore, and I can imagine what people are going to want to talk about. I am not invested in the Karen Reed case. That's not to say I'm not interested in following some of the updates as they roll out. I don't know every single player in the case. You're not coming to listen to my podcast to hear about the Karen Reed trial, and I get that. I'm here to do so much more. I have much more information and knowledge about Sandra's case. I really look forward to justice for Sandra Birchmore. Thank you for listening. My name is Angelle Wood. This is Crime of the Truest Kind. Massachusetts and New England crime stories and history and advocacy. Follow Crime of the Truest Kind online at Crime of the Truest Kind. Online, crimeofthetruestkind.com. Tell your friends. Come to a live show. Nico's here.
Hi.
I'll be back at Off Cabot in September. More live shows to come. Say bye, Nico. I must be going. Lock your goddamn doors.